Hello and welcome to Auto and Operator, the podcast that discusses everything open wheel racing related. Hi, I'm your co-host, Andrew Miller. Wow, I must say, qualifying for the Indianapolis 500 was not boring whatsoever, despite one car on track at a time. We do wish Sebastien Bourdais a speedy recovery. He'll be back in the car next year, it sounds like. And wow, what a big crash that was. First of all, however, we must take a moment to offer Auto and Operators deepest condolences to the family of Nicky Hayden and Nicky's fiancée, Jackie, on the passing of Nicky Hayden this week after tragically being struck by a row car on his cycle last week, suffering traumatic head and chest injuries. This has certainly taken the motorsports community at large, particularly the two-wheel racing community, by storm. And the sheer number of tributes to Nicky via social media has been both heartbreaking and uplifting at the same time. And it is absolutely representative of the person, the kind of person that Nicky was. If I have one word to describe Nicky, I would describe him as real. What you saw was really Nicky. You know, him talking to the media post-race, for example. You know, I pulled a move on so-and-so like I did on my brother 10 years ago in the backyard. He's not ashamed of where he came from, and he's also not ashamed to take responsibility for his performances, good or bad, right? We all know that Nicky is a MotoGP world champion, but also suffered with incompatible machinery, to say the least, basically from 2007 all the way to the very end of his career, but he never gave up and started a brand new adventure, which took a lot of courage and determination as well in World Superbike. But what we will never forget, obviously, is Nicky's genuine character, the honor and integrity, the also lighthearted approach that he brought to the MotoGP community, which really, pre-Nicky Hayden, was not dissimilar from the Formula One community in that it was full of secrets and deceit and lots of fractious relationships and so on and so forth. And so the open-armed approach that Nicky took just changed the way that people went about communicating with one another in the paddock. I think in general the camaraderie between the riders was inevitably enhanced by it. He was a great person, and we will never forget you, Nicky. To the Verizon IndyCar Series, the Indianapolis 500 is almost upon us. Who's going to win? It's Fernando Alonso. Come on. Fernando Alonso is going to win. He's starting fifth. He had an overboost issue that caused him to break in, I believe, turn 2. He was really disappointed he didn't get pole. I think a combination of Andretti's experience combined with McLaren's smarts, and they're going to win this race, and I think McLaren's going to end up running a full-time entry next year for someone like Alexander Rossi, or someone like that who can really, really benefit from a more F1 approach, where they're analyzing really small details, asking a lot from their driver to help just get that little bit more speed out of the car. I could really see that come to fruition here. I think Andretti's mutual respect and enthusiasm for the partnership between the two teams is so large, especially, Zach Brown and Michael Andretti really seem to get on well, that I think the two teams have a future together, that's for sure. Whether or not Fernando wins, but I genuinely think he can win the race, and I think Alexander Rossi is going to be right up there with him. It could come down to reliability. It could come down to unforeseen circumstances, cautions, rain, what have you. Also, you can't forget Scott Dixon, right? Scott Dixon blitzed the field in qualifying. You got to think that they're going to be right up there as well. I must say, Andretti is pretty damn strong. And I think with so many cars competitive compared to Chip Ganassi Racing, where Max Chilton showed some pace. TK is in the top 9, but I don't think they're going to have the sheer number of strategies to run at the same time as the Andretti cars, and so it's going to be tough to beat the Andretti Armada. Penske, you got to think they got to come up with something. You don't get 17 wins for nothing, even if they may have an inferior engine. They're definitely going to have reliability and probably fuel mileage on their side. Can they pull something out of the hat? Simon Pagenaud showed a lot better pace in that practice 8. I know Marshall Pruitt and Robin Miller said practice 8 was ridiculous. Everyone out there fighting as if it was actually race day. No crashes. Nobody upset with one another, just hard racing. I think it goes to show the depth of talent, determination, passion in the field right now. And I think those are the 3 words I would use to describe qualifications. Both Saturday and Sunday were absolutely exciting. Again, Sebastien Bourdais hit the wall. Nothing penetrated the side of the car, unlike Hinchcliffe's accident. So obviously they've been able to improve that because it was a pretty similar accident. We do know that the speeds are real. It may look easy on TV, but the speeds are real, and I think that crash highlights the danger and the balls that it takes to get a good lap around Indianapolis Motor Speedway. And, I think a really good context to frame qualifying for all of you listeners is there's no prize money, really. There's no incentive as you're going to be qualifying for it. There's no bump day anymore, right? There's no real incentive to push the limits except for sheer competitiveness. And so again, going back to the determination, the passion for the sport, all the drivers wanted to truly compete. They wanted to put on a show for the fans, and they wanted to do the history of this race justice by giving it their best shot. That's simple. And that's just something I haven't always seen in years past. I've been watching the Indy 500 for probably the last 5 years, and I must say this is the first year, we've seen speeds high. Obviously, conditions are really good, but just genuinely, I think the entire paddock, with the arrival of Alonso and McLaren, and with a couple other new teams, with such a successful 100th running behind them, I think they know this is the time to shine. This is the time to create new fans. And a way to do that is pushing the absolute limits and showing just how intense this sport really is. So race predictions. I think Andretti's going to win the race. Somebody on the Andretti team, not Marco. But I think the Andretti team is going to win the race. Whether it's Fernando or Rossi or Ryan Hunter-Ray, I think I would put Alonso on top, Rossi second, RHR a close second there. And it may come down to, again, circumstances. As we all know, it's a long race. Could be rain delays. I don't think the weather's looking that good. Could be reliability issues from Honda. Could Chevy pull it back with some reliability and fuel mileage on their side? Penske is definitely clever. Will they come up with something? Ed Carpenter Racing. Does anybody really think Ed Carpenter is going to be fast in terms of race trim? It's hard to know. Last time he was on pole in 2014, he crashed so early on we never knew. But you got to think he's probably got good pace. At the end of the day, him and JR work pretty well together, obviously, as far as the oval configuration goes, and so they might be a threat as well. The only thing that I'm concerned about is Mikhail Aleshin, who, by the way, had on his Instagram account had like the most ridiculous save in practice 8, like 2 full lock corrections on his car over 220 miles an hour. So definitely check that out. But I'm worried about Mikhail Aleshin and Graham tangling on the first lap. Mikhail doesn't give an inch, and Graham is really pissed off that he wasn't in the Fast 9. And I think adding on to that, Marco was also really pissed off, and I don't think Marco will be in the right frame of mind. I think he is getting a bit antsy, despite his maybe reconfigured psychological approach this year with Brian Herta in his corner. I think he's going to get pretty damn antsy with Rossi, with Alonso leading the charge. He wants to fulfill the legacy that is an Andretti winning at Indianapolis. And I think that 2006 race haunts him every day, as does every bad weekend that he has. So I think desperate racers are going to make for some desperate moves on race day, maybe a little too early on. And I think Aloshin is going to be aggressive, although he's had a poor start to the season, so maybe he'd be a little more conservative. But also, Takuma Sato, you got to say, gosh, he's unpredictable. I don't know whether or not he'll be quick or whether or not he'll be crashing people out or what. So, a whole lot of things up in the air. That's why we love the Verizon IndyCar Series. Check out Chris Medlin's insight on Racer.com. He had a great conversation with James Hinchcliffe about the Verizon IndyCar Series in general and what he thinks about Alonso coming over here and what that means for the future with maybe other drivers coming to Verizon IndyCar Series, but also vice versa. The Verizon IndyCar Series maybe competing in this series or that and trying to promote their sports that way and creating a larger community of motorsport as opposed to everyone kind of in their own little specialist series. That's certainly something I think Derek will expand on this week. Is our motorsports better off being kind of closed off from one another and doing things like that, or are we better off, kind of joining hands and trying each other's series and bringing fans from one to the other? That's going to be something interesting. Please subscribe to the podcast. We'll have some more updates. I'm going to be coming to you live a few different times from the Indianapolis 500. I have great accommodations, and I will definitely be putting a few messages out and some live videos and showing you guys what that event is all about, and certainly going to do some post-race commentary. So thank you very much for tuning in. Again, subscribe, like, comment, what have you. We need to know how to evolve this podcast for our fans. Peace.